morning. Well, survived the night with no wild animal attacks. The light of day does seem a little bit overreactive to sleep in the car. However, I got a good sleep, and that I think is the main thing. Beautiful day. It's still quite early, but the sun's up nice and high, and it's quite a windy day. Tonight, I'm not racing sunset for a change, which is going to make a big difference because every single day, the last few days, it's just been like, oh my goodness, the sun is setting. In fact, every day I've been camping. Next few nights, we'll be in a bed, a real bed, that I can lie down on without setting up a tent around it. If you've ever driven through Nebraska or the Midwest with the miles, the never-ending or the seemingly never-ending miles of plains, you'll understand how ridiculous it would be to be doing it on a dirt road. So there's the dirt road. Also, I passed a sign that said 4-wheel drive only. Clearly I'm not in a 4-wheel drive, which has been fine to this point. However, the road ahead doesn't look to be as solid as what I've been driving on. Now I could risk it and risk getting bogged in, or I could turn around and drive all the way back the way I've come and just get back onto the highway and then access from the main entrance to the National Forest, which is probably going to be a more solid road. That would be the sensible option, but not quite as exciting. So needless to say, I took the the adventurous route. The bit that I'd arrived at wasn't actually the worst bit. There was some soft sand there, but it was okay. I think the bit that I've just gone through was far worse though. I did see some real cowboys wrangling their cattle, which was awesome. And then I came to this sandy hill. It was almost like a dune. It was just like thick sand, and only way I got through it was with speed to carry me through the softest bits, and then some power to just power out and going through another sandy bit here, so I'll let you see. And then just to make it all a little bit more exciting, I mean, this is clearly all designed for 4-wheel drive, which have a much higher off the ground. That centerpiece is too high for me to straddle. I can't have one wheel on either side because it'll just ground the car in the middle. However, it's just completely soft sand because the stuff at the side is all packed down from where people have driven on it in their 4-wheel drives, which is making this a little bit more exciting than I'd thought before. Oh dear. So now we're driving on pretty loose sand, and I mean, you'll hear it. The bottom keeps getting scraped, so I'm sure that's not very good for the car. However, we'll get through, hopefully. If I don't, then you'll never find out, because this will be posted. Wow. Back on real roads, that was quite a nerve-wracking experience, particularly the last little section there, where it was really just ploughing through. I'm pretty sure at some points the car was just belly flopped and sliding along the dirt, which is not good. And just as I was sitting at the junction there, I could hear the engine wasn't sounding quite the same. And now that we're on a main road, the air's coming through and it's blowing out all that sand, and so you can hear the sand blown out from under the car. So hopefully this air will clear it out and it'll be alright, because I really don't fancy breaking down. Oh dear. So just coming to almost at the end of Nebraska. Going to be heading into Iowa very soon. I was just thinking, this part of Nebraska is very similar to New York. Just a few less trees, which I prefer, because in New York, well, I'm talking New York State here, you just can't see the countryside, you can't see the landscape because there's so many blooming trees everywhere. Whereas this is lovely. And it's rolling hills, flatter and less bumpy than the main part of Nebraska that I was in before. Lots and lots of arable farming here rather than the livestock, because I guess it's much easier to plough and to maintain than it is when it's all bumpy like that. Anyway, why was I had something I wanted to say more than just this looks like New York. Yes, that's what it was. I'm listening to the music and I'm like 5 hours from my destination, and I'm like, I've got this whole long list of music that I want to listen to. I'm like, oh my goodness, I might not have time to listen to it all. Even though I've listened to all of my music, like I've been through it a couple of times now, because I've only got like 2 days worth of music on the phone and iPod. It's the same on both, but just going through it. And now I'm like being more picky, rather than just like having it on everything and skipping the tracks that I don't want. I'm actively looking for the ones that I do want. So I've got like a waiting list of music, several hours long. I'll skip forward to things and then go back and listen to them again. But having said that, you know, I've been on my own now. No human contact. Well, not quite no human contact, but I've not really been able to hang out with anybody, just purely because I'm travelling on my own. I had thought that I would be quite bored of my own thoughts by now, but actually, you know, I could keep on driving. You know, it's been 5, 6, 7, 8 hours of driving today so far. And I've still got another 4 or 5 to go. You know, I could keep going beyond that. The fact that I'm like, oh, I don't want to be there yet, and I feel like I'm really close, because in terms of American distances, I am now very close. Under a day away is always close. But it's just funny to kind of have that feeling of not wanting to arrive, but still at the same time really want to get there, because I'm looking forward to having a shower, looking forward to a proper bed, so that'll be nice. Anyway, back to the music. Welcome to Iowa. It looks just like Nebraska. That's a terrible camera angle, but you're still plugged into the music, so too bad. There's this lovely thing called a roadside park, basically on the highway, and it's the only one I've seen. It's the only place I've actually seen to stop in the last 200 miles. But it is lovely. There's a couple of little circuit bits, just like this one here, where you can come in, pull up, have picnic lunches and tables. Up there's a little play parky area for the kids. Have a barbecue, a little gazebo in case it rains. It's really quite nice. If we walk up the hill, oh my goodness, my legs are a bit stiff from sitting in the car. But you just come up this hill, and if we ignore the sound of the road just behind us there, then this is a very peaceful place. There's loads of birds singing, which is nice. Lots of insects as well, which aren't so nice. And we get this view over here into the meadows. Absolutely lovely. But this this little play park over here is obviously quite old and a little bit neglected, very neglected, filled with weeds. But having said that, still looks like it'd be a lot of fun for any kids that came up here. There's some swing set, slide, climbing frame, roundabout. So it's actually really nice. One thing I've noticed about all the houses down here, they all seem to be like modular houses, whereas compared to Colorado, It's all log homes and post and beam, very grand, whereas these ones are much smaller. And I think that might partly be because of the threat of tornadoes and stuff coming through. You know, if you got a tornado with one of these modular homes, it'd probably be destroyed, but pretty cheap, pretty easy to get replaced. Whereas those log homes are pretty slow in building and far more expensive to replace, I'm sure. And of course, you need to have a basement here to hide in case of a tornado as well. So there's that to consider. Insects. But like I was saying before, very New York-esque. Very much. The only thing that's missing is swamps. If we had some swamps, you might think we were in New England. Except not humid enough either. Actually, now that I think of it, there's a lot of reasons why this isn't like New York. I much prefer this to New York. But everyone here, everyone speeds. Like, I'm sitting at 55, which is the speed limit, and it's people overtaking me constantly. In other places that wasn't really so much of an issue, and I was going quite a similar speed to everyone else at the speed limit. But here, doesn't really seem to be the case. So here's something not very exciting, but I'll tell you anyway. Here you can see I've got my cool box. Oh, also we don't turn the camera off as I'm turning it around. So here you can see I've got my cool box, which has got the milk and cheese, some water for drinking, just to keep it cool. Got burgers in there. I never actually ate the burgers, and they're probably a bit too old now, so I have to chuck them out just because I didn't have the gas to cook them with at the time. However, this cooler is the most useless cooler known to man. Excuse all the trash here, and empty water bottles that need to be refilled. So it's not really trash, but it just leaks everywhere. Can you see how wet that is? So it's just soggy boot at the moment. My dirty laundry bag here has done a good job of soaking up a lot of that moisture, so that I'll be able to get sorted out as soon as I get to Sarah's and getting that in the laundry. But I think for the second half of the trip I'm going to be throwing that cooler out. And getting a new one. So check out my car. It is now getting dirty. I'll put the trunk down and the boot down so you can actually see exactly how dirty it's getting. And all the little dots on it is from the rain last night. Still got the mud splashes up the side, so that's nice. Keep cleaning the windscreens, because if I didn't, the windscreen would look like this, covered with dead bugs, which is not so nice. So every time I stop for gas, I give the windscreen a wee clean. But no, this car has actually done me very well. Quite happy with it. Reasonably comfortable for sleeping in as well. I think in the future, if I ever move over here, which I'd love to do, if I ever move over here, I'm going to get a 4x4 or a big truck, and that way I can sleep in the back of it on road. I think this whole trip I've been talking about, oh, I could live here, I could live there, this is the kind of house I'd like. I'm actually not really talked about the kind of house I'd like. That's one for another video. But yeah, definitely would love to live here, want to live here. Right, I think lunch is going to be a two-handed affair, so we can get started. I've got a swimming pool in here. Bread. Ham. Cheese. Cheddar cheese. And get some mayo out. Also something I want to tell you guys is the altitude change. You see the bottle there? It's gets all sucked in because obviously at the higher altitude the air pressure is a lot lower. So inside this bottle is, I think, Colorado air, that in the mountains, where it's nice low pressure. So you come down here with much higher air pressure, and so it squidges the bottle flat like that. And as soon as I open it up, in fact, I'll show you. Try and get it on camera. That amuses me. It's not so great when it happens to your toothpaste, and your toothpaste gets spat all over you when you go to the higher altitude, and it's suddenly a higher pressure inside than it is on the outside. Yeah, it's not so fun. But yeah. Also, I'm jumping all over the place here. These are the burgers. That's the burger. It's not very burger-esque anymore. I think it's got some water in there as well, which isn't so nice. And it's bled everywhere. And this I think this is the one I dropped on the ground. But I rinsed it off and put it in a little bag. The other one doesn't look quite so bad. Let's have a look at that. So there it is. There we go. Much more burgery. Still got some water inside it though. And this one hasn't fallen on the ground, so it's nice and clean. But it might still be good to eat. Perhaps. So I'm going to make my lunch. This is a long video as well. This is like 15 minutes long, including the bit that I stopped midway through doing. So yeah, I think I've just been saving up my word vomit, my waffle of things to say for a few hours in that car. Also, you'll notice there's not very many photos just now because both the other cameras have died. Both of my cameras have died even, and this is my phone. And I have to say, I'm actually liking this phone a lot. I mean, I've always liked this phone, love this phone, but it's really coming into its own while I'm travelling. Yeah, just loving the open space here, the peacefulness of being on the road. Also, the whole style of driving here is very different, I've realised. And I've driven here a lot, but it's really just kind of this time that it's properly struck me. In the UK, people drive a lot more like they do in New York. Just really crazy, irate driving. Really crazy, irate driving. And just always in a rush, all the time. It doesn't matter where you are or what you're doing, it's just always a rush. Whereas, you know, you get onto the rest of the country, and that kind of goes away. And there's still people who drive fast, as I was saying, but, you know, like, you come to a stop, and you will stop, and then go, and taking off from traffic lights is a lot more leisurely. Just everything is calmer, a bit slower. Partly that might be because of the bigger vehicles, which roll a lot more in the corners, and so you have to take it a bit more easy. But even in the little car, the Yaris. I mean, I had the Yaris before in the UK, and I'm driving this a lot more leisurely. And partly that's just my frame of mind. Perhaps not so much in the sand dunes this morning, when I was really giving it some, especially when it got bogged down. I didn't really tell you about that, did I? Yeah. Two-wheel drive, just the front wheels, and there's no locking differential, which means whichever wheel can move the easiest is the one that spins. Which means the one that's spinning in the sand is the one that spins, which just digs the car down a little deeper. So that wasn't so fun. So we're rocking it back and forth a little bit to get it out. Actually, I should clean out the air filter on this thing, see some adventures that will be lurking inside. That'd be a fun thing to do. Maybe I'll do that when I get to Sarah's, just see how much crap I've scooped up in there. Still, right, sandwiches, dinner time. A beautiful, beautiful little space to stop. Turns out I'm not much of a fan of dried kiwi fruits. Ugh. Stopped at Walmart for a bathroom break and got some Gatorade, some of the blue kind. I show you, because you don't have it over there. Blue Gatorade and some dried fruit, mango, pineapple, and kiwi. It was only like $3, like £2. And mango is a weird colour of mango. It tastes okay. Pineapple's good, and the kiwi is a bit gross. But interestingly, if you look on the ingredients on the back, it's not just dried fruit that's in there. There's a whole bunch of other crap as well. So even though the product calls itself Nature's Harvest. Nature's Harvest. I can't read upside down, it's shocking. It calls itself Nature's Harvest, which suggests a very natural product. What's inside the bag does not reflect the name. Also, completely randomly, in the UK, anytime you drive anywhere, you almost need to, you're going to get stuck behind a tractor. In fact, you almost need to schedule about 50% extra time just for stuck behind tractor time. Just the way it is. And that's even if you live in the middle of the city and you're going, you know, down the road in the middle of the city. Here, they've done something genius. Now, America generally has bigger, wider roads with hard shoulders just on the, like the local roads. Anyway, I mean, this isn't like a particularly major road. This is like an A road, a single carriageway in each direction A road. So, like the A9 around Perth, or at least the single carriageway section, not the dual carriageway bit. I'm trying to think of some other ones that people will know. I don't know. Anyhow, here they have a hard shoulder. I mean, most of the places in America they have a hard shoulder, but in Iowa, Farming Central, they do a gravel hard shoulder, just so the tractors feel nice at home driving along in the dirt. This is fantastic because this is where the tractors drive, and I have not been stuck behind a tractor once because they have their own little dirt track that runs alongside the real road, so that they can pretend to be real cars as well, but not get in everyone's way. So I like this system. Also, they have some really random tractors here. They've got the regular tractors, and they're pretty much all John Deere's. John Deere is a big company here. So if you own shares in John Deere, say thank you to Iowa. Also, the rest of America should hire Iowa to build their highways, because these are like the smoothest, most comfortable to drive on highways ever. But I think the reason for that is that they put all the money into the big roads and just leave the rest to be gravel. That works for me. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, the tractors. ADHD talking to this thing. The tractors, they have like some really, really weird ones, because normally, you know, you've got the wheels, and the axle goes between the wheels, and then the body of the tractor sits on the axle. But, because they grow a lot of corn, and they need to get the tractor through the corn without damaging it, they've basically got the tractor raised up to the top of the wheels. So there's not an axle that goes through the middle. Each wheel has its own little axle that goes... I'll try and film one for you, because I'm not explaining it particularly well, but they're quite weird to look at. I reckon if you had a small car, you could actually fit underneath it, and they'd never even know you were there until you crashed into one of the wheels and everyone died, and it'd just be messy and disgusting. So let's not do that. But it could be done, I'm sure. If you got a James Bond movie and a James Bond car, they could definitely drive under the tractor. James Bond, I challenge you.